Today we have a 2004 Dodge Ram 1500 with a 5.7 Hemi. The owner of this vehicle hit a pothole and now they have a clunk in the front end. When we looked underneath it, it's a broken shock. We're going to show you where that's at and how to replace it. First thing I'm going to do, take off the lug nuts, the tire. It's a 20-inch tire with a 13/16. Got the tire off. Here's your shock right here. There's a bolt on top holding it. There's one on the bottom. I like to take the top one off first and then do the bottom one. But even if you're on a hoist like this, or if you're on the ground you'd have jack stands, and then you would lift this part up right here so you could compress your suspension so you could put your new shock back in. So since we're on a hoist, we're just using this board. We lowered it down a little to compress our suspension so we'll be able to get our shock in. So this is the top one up here. This is a 19 and this is a 9 up here. If you don't hold that 9, this thing will pivot. Okay, so we just got to undo this. I already lubed it well. And I don't have a gear wrench that would ratchet, otherwise this would be a little faster, but that's broke at the time. Once the nut's removed on top, we're going to go down here. We're going to pull this 13/16 out. And the shock should come out. Now our lower control arm shouldn't really drop because we got it supported, and hopefully we'll just be able to put the new one right back in. Okay, pull that right out of there. You also want to make sure that you remove this rubber that's sitting on top here and this washer. This is the new shock. What you're going to do, they got it compressed. You're just going to cut that, like that. Take that off, and we're going to fit that up in there. But first, you got to open this up because they give you those washers and the rubber grommets, and you got to put those in place. You got the washer, you got the rubber grommet. You can see how it's got a lip like that. So that lip goes up, and this one will go down, and then we'll put the washer on top of this one. Put that up there, and now we're going to put the rubber that side down, the washer down like this, and then we're going to put the new nut they gave us, which is a locking nut. Okay. Now that one's loose on top, and this one, I just had to push it up a little to line it up. I got that board underneath it. If I didn't have that board, I wouldn't be able to put this in like that. Okay, so I got that started by hand, and now I'm going to tighten it up. Tighten this thing up. I'll go back and tighten the upper one. The bottom one's tight. And now we got a washer, got a rubber grommet, washer, everything's going in the right direction. Last thing we do is tighten up this 19. Okay, we just got to tighten this up. Hold the top there with it. The new one happens to be an 8 instead of a 9, which they do all the time to you, so no big deal. Just got to tighten this up. Notice when you're tightening up, you can see the rubber gasket, the rubber's actually just squashing down. Now as you're doing this, you can see your rubber grommets right there are compressing, and that's what you wanted to do. And we tighten it up. Okay, you can see our rubber grommets are compressed. It's tight. Most of them are like we just did, where you take it off on the top. These, for whatever reason, happen to have a nut right there, which is actually pretty nice. So you might want to double check the shocks you get, and that'll be another way of getting it off, hopefully even easier. Before I put the tire back on, I'm just going to double check this. That's tight. And we just check that one. That's nice and compressed. So the last thing we do is put on the front tire. Put our lug nuts on, tighten them up. And that's all it takes to put a front shock on a 2004 Dodge Ram 1500 with a 5.7 Hemi.